Welcome to a new video on NIO Stock, and this time it's a little bit of news, although I usually don't cover too much news on this channel, but well, we have a breaking news about a new price target by JP Morgan for NIO Stock, so let's talk about what is important here. And before we start, please give this video a quick like, also subscribe to the channel to stay on top on what's happening in the Chinese market, Chinese IPOs and stocks such as Tesla and Cloudflare that have a big exposure to the Chinese market. And please also consider to become a patron to support our mission, as well as getting some news earlier than I can actually make some videos about it. With that out of the way, let's jump into the news, and here I'm using CN Tech Post, which in my point of view is a fairly reliable source and actually having some good in-depth reporting about what's going on in China. I really like it so far, also covering other stocks or other companies like Huawei and so on. And actually, well, they broke the news publishing the whole JP Morgan report here about why they changed the price target. And first of all, yes, of course, this is big positive news, and NIO is already trading up 10% in the markets here. But as you can see, this time I don't have champagne with me, other than last time with the Q2 earning calls. And that day, actually, NIO stock tanked afterwards. So what I really like to point out in this video is to take such news also with a pinch of salt and use your own brain in order to think about what it really means. Because ultimately, JP Morgan and many of the other institutional analysts here, they don't have a great track record in catching what NIO has been doing so far. They're jumping late onto the bandwagon here, and they actually even say this here openly. So admittedly, we missed the stock's major rally year to date. Instead of trying to justify a higher price target, we review our long-term investment thesis based on our bullish top-down sector view. So this is the first reason why you possibly want to think twice whether or not you want to trust this kind of analysts there, because possibly they have been wrong in the past. And as well, this same analyst has a buy target on Xiaopeng stock. And if you've been following this channel, you know that I'm quite skeptical, for instance, on the prospects of Xpeng and the Xiaopeng stock here. So let's always stay open-minded here. But as a big NIO bull and NIO investor right now, I obviously am happy about this upgrade, because as we can see, it moves the stock prices and it helps institutions to actually make their purchase decisions and jump in onto stock here. So let's read some of the arguments here. So they project the company to earn a 7% market share in the passenger EV market by 2025, or specifically even 30% market share in the premium space, which NIO focuses on. And if you followed my previous videos on my valuation sheets and also how I projected the implications of battery as a service on the valuation, then you'll see that I also calculate with 26.5% market share of NIO in their respective market by 2025. So that's kind of aligned here. But then I also made the calculations of that NIO can actually increase the total addressable market with battery as a service, because with the lower pricing point, they can actually go more into the mass market. And that would only reflect a 15% market share of NIO then, because obviously the market in which they are operating later on will be bigger. So I think what the analysts here are missing out are actually the implications of battery as a service here. So then for near-term catalysts, they are talking about solid Q3 results in mid-September, then also robust order backlog for the EC6 crossover model, as well as introducing a new sedan model in NIO Day, which will happen in January 2021. So I can agree on all of those catalysts, although I think they are quite well known already. And still for the Q3 earnings, I mean, this is still a black box, so this could also disappoint. So whether or not you want to jump on NIO stock right now, if you don't own any stock right now, I think that would be a huge bet that you're taking there. But if you're already sitting comfortably on a NIO position there, then you can possibly relax on that because you bought in earlier. And we're now witnessing kind of this run into the Q3 numbers. And usually, to be quite frank about it, we see sell-offs after the earnings, because all of those estimations and expectations are running quite high into the earnings. So then they go on and talk about valuation, and they give 3 times the enterprise value to 2025 sales, which they also apply to Xpeng Auto, as well as differentiating it, discounting it to what Tesla is trading at, which is a 5.1x enterprise value to 2025 sales. So this is how they come up with the $40 price target for next year. So this is not a price target for what the stock should be priced today. Also bear this in mind. And they're also witnessing some opportunities here that EV buyers are more individuals rather than corporates. And also they say, well, there has been the extension of the NEV subsidies program, which is particularly helpful for NIO because of the battery swapping business model is covered in this government scheme. So this is all well known already as well. And they project a meaningful pickup of new model launches, especially in Q4. Actually, I think this is going to happen in Q1 2021. And so they use all this in order to raise the price target here. Also notably, of course, they mentioned the downward risk. So worse than expected execution and deliveries of vehicles, also worse than expected overall auto market sales and competition from rivals with similar price points. So as you can see, not too much news included in that. If you go through my old NIO valuation videos that I did actually right in the beginning of this year, I also said based on the 2020 figures, NIO should be valued around $40 a share. I think this is already outdated because I did this valuation without the knowledge about battery as a service, without the latest development with NIO Navigate on Pilot and all of the autonomy business related to that, and much more innovation that NIO has brought onto the table, and also improvement in terms of how they are growing and so on. So I'm currently working on a revaluation of this model, and this will take me some more time, and I'm going to release it bit by bit to my patrons as posts first, and then later on do some videos. So the bottom line here is that it's basically a catch-up of the Analyst to what most of my viewers should actually be knowing already. In case that you're totally new to this company and you haven't bought any stock in NIO, then I wouldn't take this Analyst rating here as a buy signal here. I think instead it just helps bigger institutions that they can now pull the trigger because they need these kind of processes for compliance and so on, and now they can jump into NIO, and that should actually help us retail investors here that the stock price is finally lifting and following the big potential here. On the other hand, it doesn't mean that I think that NIO should be valued today at $40 a share, and also it doesn't mean that I think that NIO is undervalued right now. Quite the contrary, I think NIO had a really nice run up, but now it's time to look at the bigger picture, to look what's happening until 2030, to look what are the new catalysts, the big macro catalysts, and I'm currently working on that and will be updating with new valuation prospects that I see from my side personally here. So I hope you enjoyed this quick review of this Analyst price target here. Once again, be careful into Q3 earnings. There will be lots of hype, and also the stock may rise and then may see a sell-off depending on how bullish the earning call is going. So just don't get hurt now. Generally take those Analyst ratings and even my ratings with a grain of salt. You need to think for yourself what could be the valuation and a solid price target for the company and your investment. Ultimately, I'm also just sharing my personal experience here and my views, and this doesn't mean that you should be trading on that. So thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next one.